So welcome to my happy place. This is a spot on our property that I absolutely love, and you can't see it, but just out of frame here we have a fire pit. We like to come down here and do cookouts and roast hot dogs and marshmallows, and then do some fishing in the pond back there, which is just a great time, and especially when the weather gets cooler, when fires are nicer. But today's thought, I was having a conversation with my youngest daughter, and she was talking about how sometimes doing really hard things isn't worth it. And I challenged her on that a little bit. So I'm going to give you a story from my life. Man, what was this? 6 summers ago, my cousin and I decided that we wanted to do a backcountry backpacking trip in the backcountry of Colorado. Now, my brother-in-law happens to have extensive experience in the backcountry in Colorado, and he was like, "Come on out, I'll guide you." And we were like, "For sure." So we planned it for like a year, and we went out there and we did it, and we kind of used borrowed gear, and I ended up getting a backpack that did not fit me well, but I didn't know any better. So ended up really straining my shoulders, and I had headaches every day, and I got a little bit of altitude sickness, we think, because we were flatlanders. And just so you understand, so we live at 600 feet above sea level. And so we went from 600 feet above sea level. We arrived at my sister and brother-in-law's house in the afternoon, had dinner, went to bed, and then immediately got up early and drove to the trailhead, which started at like 8,000 feet above sea level. So in the course of less than 24 hours, we went from 600 feet to 8,000 feet. So that's where I think I struggled with altitude sickness a little bit. Anyways, we started out hiking. Now, my brother-in-law lives in Colorado, and he trail runs at like 5,000, 6,000 feet and is in shape. And we call him Diesel. That was his trail name. He is like a diesel motor. He just sets it in gear and then just goes. It doesn't matter how much weight he's got on his back. He can just go. And so my cousin and I are flatlanders from the Midwest, and we had no preparation or really training of any sort for this hike. And so my cousin and I are about dying going up the hill. Like, we joked about like throwing a rock at my brother-in-law's head, knocking him out, just so we could get a break, because we were like dying, you know. And we're sweating, we're breathing hard. And I turned around and told my cousin, I said, "This is physically top 3, physically the hardest thing I've ever done in my life." Because my backpack, because I overpack everything, was probably closer to 50 pounds, and we were going from 8,000 feet up to 10,000 feet, and it was just crazy. And so we got set up for the first night, and then the next morning I woke up, I had a really bad headache, I didn't feel good. We had a debate whether I was going to go back to the car because I wasn't feeling good, so I had taken some medication. We hung out at the campsite a little bit while longer, started feeling better. And then my brother-in-law says, "You know, why don't you guys take the lead up the trail and set the pace instead of me?" And my cousin and I looked at each other, we said, "That's a great idea." And to give you an idea of how unprepared we were for this hike, there were sections of the hike that were like walking upstairs, because we're going up in elevation every single step. And there would be times where we would walk for 30 seconds, take a 30-second break. Walk for 30 seconds, take a 30-second break. That's how physically taxing we were. And I considered myself to be in decent shape. Like, I had been training, you know, weightlifting, running. I had been practicing with my backpack on, and I just felt like, man, I'm going to crush this. And it crushed me. So I'm going to roll in some pictures here from the trip so you guys kind of understand. But back to this idea of doing something hard. When we finished the hike, you know, it was magnificent. I mean, as you can see from the photos that I'm rolling through here, just breathtaking view of the lake, the mountains, the topography. Everything was just amazing. And again, thank you to Mike for doing that for us. And when I got back, you know, when we were done, I was like, I'm never doing that again. That was too hard. It was too taxing. And I didn't even have fun because it was so taxing. And then a week rolls by, and I was like, you know, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. And then I thought about this trip almost every single day for the next year. And as I thought about it more and more, I was like, it was worth every moment. Doing the hard thing was worth every moment. And I would do it again. And I would do it again with my family. Like, I'd love to take my family on a trip, obviously prepare them a little bit better than what I was prepared. Or maybe do a hike that's not quite as hard. But yeah, so in life, in business, in family, relationships, whatever it is that we're doing and that we're dealing with, doing the hard thing or doing something that's very hard is almost always worth it, because success is usually on the other side of the hard thing that we're doing. So that's my thought for today. I want you to take that. I want you to think about it. There's things that we have to do in life that are hard because we have to do them. And that's just kind of how life is sometimes. But then sometimes it's a choice. Whether it's you're starting a new business, or you're trying to climb the ladder to increase your own worth and get a better paycheck, or whatever it is, the hard thing is almost always worth it. So if you can climb past that, if you can fight through it, if you can stay in the game long enough to get through those hard things, you're going to be so much better for it. And the reason that you're going to be better for it is because you're going to have the lessons, the experience, and the knowledge of the hard thing on the other side of that hard thing. So let's go back to my example of the hike that I did. I would love to take my wife and girls on a hike like that. And my experience, my knowledge would be, we're not doing that one because it would be way too physically taxing for the family to make it enjoyable. And you want to make things enjoyable for your kids so that they have fun and they want to do it again. So when you go through things and they're hard for a reason. And they're not necessarily hard because it's a beatdown. They're hard because you're supposed to learn something from it. Whether it's starting a business, it's something that I'm doing right now. Yeah, it's hard. But in 5 years, is it going to be worth all the sacrifices and the ill feelings that I have right now during this time of starting something and getting it off the ground? Yeah, probably. Probably. So I want to give you a word of encouragement today. If you're facing something that's difficult, or you have a choice to do something that's difficult, and you're not sure if it's worth it, do it anyways. And I say do it anyways because, and I've talked about this before, there is brain science behind doing something difficult and it actually strengthening your mind so that when you have to do something difficult again, it's not as difficult. You see how that goes? And every time you do something difficult, it makes the next difficult thing not as difficult. Kind of like lifting weights. You just start to increase your resistance, and then pretty soon you're walking around like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Maybe. So anyways, take that thought. How can you apply that to your life? Drop a comment below. I would love to hear about something hard that you're going through. I'd love to talk with some of you. Reach out to me. I'd love to get your story on what it is that you're doing that's hard, and what are the life lessons that you've learned in doing that hard thing, moving through it and beyond it.